Welcome to the show, everybody. Let me tell you, this is a show that may leave you right on the edge of your seats. The guests you are about to meet confronted death head-on and have lived to tell about it. Today, you'll see their incredible video and hear the amazing stories of people who can say, "I cheated death." On March 19th, 1992, 18-year-old Scott Smith came home from school in Kentwood, Michigan, and he decided to go fishing. But he slipped and fell into a 14-foot fishing hole while trying to catch a fish. His mother, Barbara Smith, joins us now and tells us what happened in those icy waters there. What did happen, Barbara?
Well, it was a beautiful spring-like day. The sun was shining, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, and Scott decided to skip the last hour of school and go fishing. And he went up to Rockford where the salmon was running. Him and a friend went into the water wading. He slipped. He was wearing waders, and they filled up with water, and he started going under. And where the two floodgates come together, the dams, there's quite a swift current. And at first, Scott was trying to paddle going to the side of the river, but the current carried him to the middle where it formed like a whirlpool. And it sucked Scott down into the middle under the water.
Oh my goodness, how long was he underwater?
Scott was under the water for 36 minutes.
36 minutes?
36 minutes before they retrieved him and pulled him out.
Oh my God. So his friend saw, and I think the friend ran for help, is that how?
He was there with a buddy, and the buddy tried to go in and save him, and because of the coldness of the water, it was numbing, and they just couldn't move. There was 3 people altogether that had tried to rescue Scott, and they had to be rescued themselves and pulled out.
36 minutes underwater, and he survived this?
And he survived.
How did that happen?
It was very cold water. It was 34 degrees, and he went into a hypothermia mode, and I guess all the blood in his body rushed to his vital organs and kept him going.
Even without breathing?
Without breathing. When they pulled him out, Scott had no heartbeat, no respiration, nothing. And they revived him. His heart kept stopping. As his body was warming up, they had a hard time to keep him going. And they just never gave up, and they kept working on him.
What did they tell you? I mean, what did the doctor say?
When we found out about Scott's accident and we went to the hospital, they didn't give us any hope. They didn't think he would last. They kept reviving him. They kept jump-starting his heart, and he'd go for a few minutes and he'd quit. They just never thought he would survive whatsoever. During the next couple of days, every time we walked in there, if his eyes were blinking or his hands were twitching or his feet, they would tell us not to get encouraged because it didn't mean anything. They just kept telling us it was involuntary muscle reactions. It didn't mean a thing. And 26 hours after Scott had been retrieved from the river, he became conscious, and he sat bolt upright in bed, scared stiff. He was just so scared because he didn't know where he was. And he just amazed everyone because no one expected him to ever come out of it.
Did you hold on to hope during all that time when they were saying your son wasn't going to make it? What got you through?
That's all we had was our hope and our faith. We had very good support from the community. Scott was a senior in high school at that time. We probably had 50 of his classmates up there in the waiting room with us, plus all our family and friends. And we had very good support. We had excellent support from everyone all through the whole ordeal.
Well, I bet Scott's life is not the same since. I think we should meet this miracle survivor. Come on out, Scott. Wow, nice to have you here. Come on in. Wow. Scott, it's been 5 years since you came back to life, and Mom is still emotional over this.
Yeah.
What did that event do to you?
As my life, not really changed it all that much, but yeah, the rehab from the hospitals and everything else, that changed me more than anything because I can't remember the accident itself. You have a different outlook on life.
I bet. Like how?
Well, it's, before, like if you're in the supermarket, somebody's having trouble in a wheelchair or something, reaching something, and then you lend a hand. It's,
That's interesting because you know what it's like to depend on people to help you.
from one thing you take for granted one day, also the next day you don't have. It's very frustrating and hard.
Yeah. Barbara, has your whole family changed because of this? Because we're talking to people today who have really cheated death. I mean, they're not supposed to be here anymore. And I can imagine that when you get a second lease on your baby boy here, it really has to affect the whole family.
I think since the accident, the one thing that has changed is we're more communicative with everyone. We keep closer tabs on each other. When Scott had his accident, we couldn't get a hold of my one daughter. We couldn't get a hold of my husband. It was quite a while after that. It had already been on the TV, it had been on the radio. We were so afraid they were going to learn about it that way. And now we just keep closer tabs on each other.
And you don't skip school.
No, don't go to school anymore.
Don't go to school anymore. Well, we're very happy to have you. Don't go away, everybody. We'll be right back. Up next, a man's parachute collapses at 2,000 feet. A bomb technician faces his worst nightmare. And evil Knievel's son, Rob, is on his way to our studio to tell us about the death-defying stunt he's now working on. Imagine if you could say, I cheated death. Well, we're talking with folks in our show today who can certainly say that, lucky to be alive. Unlike Scott Smith, who nearly drowned in a fishing accident, 27-year-old Eric Johnson is used to risk-taking. He and fellow skydiver Troy Drogemeyer had at least 500 jumps behind them before Eric videotaped this routine maneuver just last summer in Laurel, Maryland. Well, Eric, I think you need to tell us what happened on this so-called routine jump. It doesn't look too routine here all of a sudden.
Rolonda, okay, today what we're doing is we had finished work for the day because we both work at the drop zone. So we went up to goof off for a jump, and you know, we were out filming. I was out filming Troy. Troy's making the skydive, and I'm in free fall next to him. And you know, just a standard skydive. This is what we do. We go out there and jump and have fun. And then what we've got happening here was we opened extremely low, and I've got an emergency backup release on my reserve chute. So when I opened my main parachute, because of the low altitude, the reserve deployed at the same time. And when I attempted to release the main parachute, they entangled, and they just never recovered. They
Wait a minute. So this is you realizing at this moment that you are tangled up.
This is him filming. This is exactly what he sees right now. This is him going through it.
Oh my God! What did you think? Did you think you were really? This was it?
I mean, when you're skydiving, Plan B is the reserve chute. So,
right.
And I mean, rarely, if ever, do you have to use it. The main, it works every time. These things are designed to open. And when I saw the reserve extracting, I was like, I got to get rid of the main because I don't want to have an entanglement. And then when it folded in half, I just, you know, I can't describe the feeling. You're looking up and you're like, oh my God, that's Plan B, and I'm getting ready to burn in.
What does go through your mind at that moment?
I mean, a lot of people say that your life flashes before your eyes. That didn't really happen. I mean, I thought about a lot of things. I thought about my mom. You know, I felt bad that I was about to buy it, you know. My mom
I'm not going to explain this.
My mom doesn't particularly like me skydiving, but I mean, basically, you know, what you're thinking of is how can I fix this? Because, you know, I mean, you're not going to sit there and accept the fact that you're about to buy it. So, I mean, I was sitting there just pumping the toggles of the parachute trying to get the malfunction to clear.
Gosh.
Yeah, he was functioning the whole time.
I was about to say, where were you?
We lost track of altitude awareness, and we got low. I rolled over and pulled, and he kept going to give me time so we didn't have a canopy collision. And we were so low that both chutes, he had pulled and the automatic opener fired the reserve into the main chute. It caused an entanglement, and I'm up there going, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my friend. I spent the last 10 seconds of my life with him having the best. How can something this good just turn to trash? And
you're watching him, and I would think pretty afraid that you're about to watch him die.
That's exactly what I said. Well, oh man, I could have landed next to him, but I opted not to because I'm not a medic or anything like that. And I was just like, man, there's nothing I can do. I flew back to the airport yelling, call 911. You know, what do you do in a situation like that?
Not a bit that you could do. Now, this is the helmet that you were wearing, right?
This is a
and that has the camera on it.
It's got a video camera inside the metal box and a still camera here that's attached by a cable, so you use a hand shutter activator to shoot the stills. But thank God for the box because it saved $1,000 camera. So.
Well, and saved a life here. Y'all, can you imagine what that camera picked up when he was landing on the ground. I want to know how in the world, with no parachute, he got to safe landing. Let's take a look at what happened when you hit the ground.
There you go.
Thank God! Thank God! Yeah!
What was that?
He's upside down now.
Yeah,
you took that helmet off.
That's me taking the helmet off. I mean, you can imagine, you know, 1 second you're like, I'm gonna die. There's no possible way you can survive this. These things don't happen often in skydiving, but when they do, the outcome's just generally bad. And when I hit the ground, I just couldn't believe it. I'm laying there and I'm like, man, not only am I not dead, I'm not even hurt. So I jumped up and I flipped out. So.
How did you, was it just because of what little was left of the parachute, it kind of slowed you down a bit?
I mean, there was some drag out there, but with I think the spinning saved me. I made 4 hard spins before impact, and I don't know, what would you say, it's probably about 40 or 50 miles an hour?
Yeah, he bounced 15 feet on the ground, and the way he didn't hit, he
skidded
the camera
across
shut
the
off. There's dirt on the actual lens.
Amazing. And what was that you were screaming when you hit that ground?
What was that one, Eric?
Hallelujah!
I had a little conversation with the Grim Reaper after. I won that one.
Let me ask you this though, because I just what I was asking before to Scott. Does it change your life? Do you really start putting things more into perspective? Go on, Troy.
The reason that happened is because we failed to. The number one thing in skydiving is altitude awareness, and we got so comfortable in free fall. Hey, there's my buddy right in front of me. We neglected to check the altitude, and it's a routine thing you have to do. We were so involved and enthralled by free fall at that jump that after that, it affected me by more altitude checks. And because I have 500 skydives or 600 skydives, you know, you're dead every time you leave that plane until you prove different.
That's
but
right.
it's safe if you do that. If you get caught up in it, you can. That'll be the rest of your life.
Right. I think that if I were a risk taker, I'd probably keep in my mind that as soon as you get comfortable, you're dead. So, you know, just be real careful. Up next, a young man lost both of his arms in a farming accident and was lucky to have escaped with his life. We'll hear his harrowing tale right after this.
Hey, are you enjoying this episode of Rolonda? If so, please hit the subscribe button and let me know. Leave your comments and also follow me in other forms of social media at Rolonda Watts. Remember, that's ROLONDA, Rolonda Watts on all forms of social media. And if you're interested in voice acting, my goodness, let me help you. This is a new year coming. It could be a new you, a new career. Check out my voice acting masterclass at Rolonda.com, ROLONDA.com, and I'll tell you all about it. Let's get back to the show.
You've seen the headlines about JonBenet Ramsey's brutal murder.
I'm a little bit sick and tired of this media bashing.
Now, new insights into her death.
She was the victim of a sick game, a sick sex game.
Do beauty pageants create princesses?
They're babies and they don't need the makeup. The parents.
Or exploit innocent children?
It's the parents that these kids look like old women.
JonBenet Ramsey, Lost Beauty on Rolonda.
See if you know the second most deadly job in the world. Do you think you know? What do you think the most deadly job is in the world?
Firefighter.
Firefighter? Who else thinks they know? What do you think?
Police officer.
Police officer. Well, believe it or not, folks, the answer is probably going to surprise you. It's farming. More than 1,300 people are killed every year in farming-related accidents, and many people say that's what should have happened to 18-year-old John Thompson. He was unloading barley from a grain truck on a farm when his shirt got caught in the shaft of this piece of machinery called an auger. Well, it twisted and pulled him so fiercely it sucked his arms off, throwing them 130 feet away. And somehow, miraculously, he walked to his house, tried to open the glass door with a protruding bone, and finally got it open with his mouth, dialed his cousin on the phone by using a pencil between his teeth, and then sat in the tub waiting for help. We understand the young man didn't want to get blood on the carpet. Now, can you imagine? John's life is indeed a real miracle, and he has got a story to tell. Let's meet him. Come on, John. You are a miracle man. There's no question. John, I've got to tell you, just reading over all the stories of our guests today, it's one amazing story after another, but I think yours about takes the cake. What happened that day?
Basically, I was just unloading grain from our truck using an auger, and I got my shirt wasn't tucked in. I got caught in the PTO shaft. And the shaft, when it spins this way. And it spun about 2,800 RPMs. As I wrapped my shirt in, I went to grab it right away, pulled my shirt out, and then it caught my arms too, and that wrapped my whole body in.
Oh, God.
And then I was flipping around on the shaft a couple times, and then my arms came off. Then I hit the ground and was knocked unconscious.
Unbelievable. Did you have a moment like what we were talking with Eric and Troy, that moment of reckoning when you realize you are in deep trouble?
When my dog woke me up, I looked in my face, and then I knew something had happened, but I didn't know exactly what was going on. And I was trying to find the right arm, or went to see what was wrong with it because it felt weird. And I looked over at it, couldn't see it. I thought it was broken, laying behind me or something. And then I looked at my left arm, and the left arm came off. It came off right between the elbow and the shoulder, and it pulled the stump that was left there, pulled the skin off the stump, so it was just the blood and muscle there. And then I looked back at the right arm, and then I noticed that when this arm came off, it pulled the bone and muscle out and left the skin.
What was your first thought when you saw what that machine had done to your body?
Not a thing.
You didn't have, wait a minute, John, now come on. Now, you mean that you didn't scream, you didn't pass out, you just, I understand you were calm through this entire ordeal.
What would happen, I looked at myself and I figured, well, I got to get to the house. And I leaned against the tractor's tire and pushed myself up with my legs. And then I looked at myself again, and then I screamed for maybe just a split second. And then I just completely shut down and went to the house like no big deal.
No big deal. And you really got in the tub because you didn't want to get blood on the carpet. That's amazing. I tell you what, though, when those paramedics and emergency workers got there, they didn't take it as calmly as you, did they?
One thing, it's a small town, and so we know everybody, and the paramedics knew me, and they came, they thought I just had a broken arm. And when they walked to the house and saw the blood on the walls, they knew it was a lot worse than that. But when they actually saw me and how bad it was, they just really freaked out. They looked at me and they turned around and walked back out again.
They couldn't handle it. They were probably in shock. Did that scare you even more? To see how folks in your home I can't believe you weren't shaken one bit. A whole lot of folks, John, would have looked at themselves and given up. Would have said, I can't go on without my arms, and just freaked out, and probably would have affected their lives.
Well, my aunt was there with me. She came about 5 minutes after I called my cousin, and the ambulance took about 28 minutes to get there. And while my aunt was there, we were talking about that they can put him back on, and she just pretty much got my mind off, and we started talking about farming and joking with each other.
That's amazing. And you're sitting there the whole time keeping consciousness.
Yeah.
Now, what happened when you got to the hospital? I understand that where did they find your arms? They were...
The one arm fell right by the shaft where I was laying, and the other arm, when it got wrapped on the shaft, when I came loose, I hit the ground, and the one arm was stuck on the shaft yet. And that kept running, and eventually the shaft just whipped it about 130 feet away.
All right, so they went and basically collected your arms and reattached them to your body. How are they working now?
Working great. I've broken pretty much every medical thing there is. For one thing, they don't know how I could have survived just the accident itself, because the shaft is maybe this far off the ground. There's about this much room to spin on it without breaking my back, without hurting anything except for my arms. And then I lost so much blood, I didn't have enough blood in me to actually be alive, so I don't know how I did that one. When I got to the hospital, they said we can either put your arms on or leave them off. And so if we put them on, you might lose them again, and there's a chance that you'll lose your life with infection or other means. And I said, well, I'm here, put them on. And,
we're all together.
And then we put the arms on, and then I got a really bad staph infection. I had about 15 to 20% chance of living.
You beat that record.
They wanted to take, I believe it was my left arm they were going to remove, and I told them to leave it on, they weren't going to take it. And so they left it on, and I kept it, so.
That is simply amazing. And I understand that you write better now than you ever did. You have better penmanship, and some things are actually better.
I can write better now, I can swim better. And
that is absolutely amazing. Wow, more incredible stories. Don't go away. Up next, a man comes face to face with death, and Rob Knievel will be blasting our way to tell us about his latest daredevil stunt. Boy, if you're just tuning in, we have some incredible stories today on the Rolonda Show. Stories of incredible survival, people who can say, I cheated death. You had a question here.
Yeah, I wanted to know what stopped the shaft from moving.
The shaft kept going. One thing is, I got to the house and I was trying to figure out a way to get back and turn everything off so it wouldn't destroy the machinery when it ran empty. But when the ambulance came, they went and turned everything off.
Question here.
Hi, I have a question for John. Did you get any blood on the carpet?
Quite a bit of it.
A little bit. And all over the walls, too, I understand.
Yeah, and the
John,
doors.
It amazes me, John, that you would stay so calm, cool, and collected through that whole...
So are my doctors. They don't know what happened.
Yes, I wanted to know, do any of y'all believe that it was the work of the God that saved all of your lives?
Troy and Eric are shaking their heads. Talk about that.
When I hit the ground, I mean, you heard me saying thank God and other things like that. Yeah, I mean, but you have to wonder. I mean, I don't know for sure, but my mom certainly believes that, and I mean, I think that'd be great. I attribute it more than anything to just luck, though. I think it's just dumb luck.
Yeah.
I think though, if it wasn't that, there's no one here in this audience that in any of these situations that if it was me, you know, it wouldn't happen that way again. So you can look at it that way, or it just if that was me under his shoes or his shoes or his shoes.
Well, you know, events like this do make a lot of people far more spiritual. It makes them say, boy, I got God that day, believe me. Let's hear what happened, what effect this next person who says he cheated death, what effect his tragedy had on him. On August 6, 1985, police received word about a suspicious package at the Arab Anti-Defamation headquarters in Boston. For those who put their lives on the line for public safety, any day could be their last day. But some say no job is more lethal than that of a bomb technician at a metropolitan police force. The bomb squad from the Boston Police Department was called to the scene and determined the package was indeed a bomb. Expert Randy Lamantina was assigned the honors of defusing the bomb. But something went wrong, and Randy came face to face with death. As you saw there, he was blown 37 feet from the ground, and he was told he would not make it. But he broke all the rules, as the folks on our show have done. He did make it. He survived, and he's here today. Please welcome now Randy Lamantina. Some folks say you find religion when things like that happen to you. What happened to you?
Well, you certainly find religion, and most police officers have religion when they come on the job.
I bet.
But this was a case of the timing was a little bit off. The gentleman who made that device, I was not his intended target. Law enforcement was not his intended target. His target was the chairman, it's our understanding, the chairman of the Defamation Committee. I thought that I had it rendered safe enough to move from the scene, and we did in fact do that. We moved it from the scene, we put it in the transport container. Murphy's Law, something's gonna go wrong. It got tangled up in the transport container, and at that point there, we had to go in and take it out. Our idea was not to disarm it, as you've seen on television, by cutting wires and so forth like that. The department has ways of de-arming it without putting a bomb tech that close to a device.
Let's take a look at that video again, and this time in slow motion, and get an idea of exactly what you do. All of this, whoa, look at that. Unbelievable. It doesn't look like you were wearing a lot of, cover-up on you there.
When we first arrived on scene, I had the full bomb suit on.
Right.
Please remember, Rolonda, we're going back 9 years, almost 10 years. We weren't as equipped as bomb squads are today. As a matter of fact, the bomb suit I had on was a testing suit. It really didn't fit that well. And the reason that I didn't have the bomb suit on over the container is, first of all, that container is a directed blast vehicle. The pressure is designed to go straight up into infinity and then dissipate. In this case here, had I had the suit on, or that suit that we had at that time, the pressure would have gone up underneath my helmet. It would have trapped the flame and the blast pressure, and more than likely taken my head off my shoulders.
You would have been decapitated.
More than likely, yes.
Isn't that amazing? So just by a decision not to put that on, you may be saving your life here. There are a lot of people who may say, golly, you are such a hero.
There are no heroes in the bomb squad. There are no heroes and there are no experts. There's always somebody out there that may be a little bit better than you. So the word hero is never used. The word expert is never used. To me, the heroes, and New York City has many of them, are the men and women in public safety today.
That's right.
Both police, fire, and EMS personnel. But I don't consider myself a hero.
Did it change your life?
Not really. I have to tell you, I had a good life before.
You got to continue.
Yeah, you know, I got to continue. I suffered a lot of injuries, but probably the worst injury I suffered was having to retire from the police department. I'm proud to say that my son is now a police officer.
And you tell him every day, I'm sure, be safe out there. Randy, you, your son, and lots of other folks, some people take extreme risk just for the public safety, and some do it just for the thrill of it, like our next guest, who has the world record and broken bones to show for it. Not surprising when you find out who his daddy is. His daddy is Evel Knievel.
And if you're interested in being a voice actor, why don't you sign up for my free webinars and find out all about it? Just go to Rolonda.com, ROLONDA.com, and push the button to sign up for my free webinar. So come on, let's get you prepared for maybe a brand new career in this brand new year. Check it out, Rolonda.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Before we bring out the son of Evel Knievel, you had a question for Randy.
Right, I was wondering if they caught the person who made the bomb and what happened to them?
Personally, nobody has been prosecuted in that bombing. That case is still open. They believe that they may have a suspect, but at this time here, he's in another state, and he may never come back to Massachusetts.
Question here.
I have a question for John. How long did it take you to recover?
I was in physical therapy and occupational therapy for about 2 years, because I had to learn how to use my arms again, because they didn't work. Then learn how to feed myself and bathe myself and dress myself, and so I went for about 2 years, and right now I just gradually learn new things on my own. So I'll probably be in therapy my whole life.
Okay, real quick question here.
I have a statement for John. It's incredible that he's sitting here. I'm a prosthetic and orthotic technician. I make artificial legs and braces for a living, and you rarely see anyone who has their arms back after it.
Really?
Something like this, yeah.
So that really shocked you to see that. Let's hear it. Oh, gosh. And thanks for all the good work you do to help people get back on their feet again. Well, let's move to our next guest now. Boy, I tell you, it takes guts to do what this guy does, but it must run in the family. He made his first appearance as a daredevil at only 8 years old. It was at Madison Square Garden with his daddy, Evel Knievel. And since then, he has jumped over buses, planes, casinos, and even fountains, and jumped a car head-on at the Astrodome. I mean, what in the world is left for this guy? Well, folks, he dreams of successfully crossing Idaho's Snake River in a rocket, something his father was unable to do in his much-publicized attempt in 1974. I'm talking about Evel Knievel's son, Captain Robbie Knievel, who is, I think, where is he? Is he running a little bit late? Oh, well, I guess he'll he'll be coming in here soon. Oh, there he is. Come on, Randy, come on. There you are. How you doing? Oh, good to see you.
How you doing?
Boy, you know how to get here quickly. Before we get to you crossing that Snake River, because I want to know about this upcoming event, because I remember back in '74 when your dad was talking about doing that. But let me ask you this. What was your most famous jump of all the things that you've done, the one that was the piece de resistance?
I don't know. I don't like any of them anymore.
Are you serious?
I'm tired of them. I'm getting too old. 26 years in this business, and I still got a ways to go. But Caesar's Palace was definitely the most pressure, the greatest time, and it was like a family reunion with all my friends, you know, showing up. I waited for years for them to let me do the Caesar's Palace jump.
That is amazing.
It switched a few hands, and Dick Clark finally got the deal handled for me.
Whoa, absolutely.
Yeah,
what was the most frightening jump that you've done? One where you thought you really cheated death that time?
Oh, there's been quite a few crashes, you know, and I like to add them to my footage, and they're real nice to look at now that they're over, you know, but I've had some real bad ones where I've went into the front of the ramp and really lucked out. And my worst accidents were, you know, on the streets, mostly on street bikes. I hit a bridge pillar one time, and that was a long time ago when I was drinking and driving a little bit. And we all live and learn, I'll tell you.
Absolutely.
We all grow up real quick, but I've been really lucky, and God's been my hero too.
Yes, absolutely. So I guess after you do one, I mean, after you jump over a casino, I guess jumping over a few buses is a little boring. So now you want to jump over Idaho's Snake River. Are you crazy?
That's something. I've gone back and broke all Dad's records and set 10 or 12 of my own, and I had to leave him when I was 17 to go on my own because he wouldn't let me jump any further than 10 vans. But I've gone back and done it all except that, and you know, this is a little contraption 15 feet long. I'm not NASA. I don't have billions of dollars, and it's going to cost a lot to put the whole deal together, and that thing goes 0 to 450 in 3.5 seconds, up over a mile. And I know why my dad never went back there, and he's still wondering if I'm going to do it. I'd like to do it, and maybe someday I will, but I'm just going to continue to keep the name Knievel the most famous on two wheels. I travel and do the state fairs and casinos, and got a, you know, message to the kids as well as their parents, and I've been an entertainer all my life. That's how I look at it. And I've been lucky, and it's all I ever knew. There's positive risk and negative risk, and if we can take a positive risk for our kids, you know, that's all we can do in life, and be positive for them.
I got to tell you this, when I was a little girl, I was a real tomboy growing up. I'm still a little girl, thank you, I refuse to grow up. But you remember, I don't know how many of you are around this age, but remember those bikes with the big old handlebars, and you had the little flares on those spider bikes and the banana seats? I had a purple one, okay? And the group of kids in my neighborhood, we used to get together to play Evel Knievel. And we would jump over everything, and we had a creek that ran through my yard. So we put planks up, and we were going to jump, we would come down this hill and jump over the creek until one of the kids went smack dab into the bank of the creek and ended up with a concussion, and we weren't allowed to play anymore. But I'm just asking, as you talk about kids who followed your dad like me, and I was ready to jump like Dad, how do you tell them, how do you say to the kids and drive home, don't try this at home?
I don't really. I don't like to tell kids what to do. You know, I just like to talk about the professionalism about the sport that I'm in, that it took me a lot of years to do what I do. And you know, you got to take the time no matter what you do. I think we all got a meaning in life, and I'm just doing what I do best, you know.
And you're not scared of Snake River now?
No, I'm not
afraid
scared.
This would be the big one.
A few million would help me get over it, that's for sure.
Well, we will certainly be glued to the tube for sure. Many of you may be wondering what I'm doing standing with this big thing. It's a javelin. Now try imagining this 8-foot javelin spearing you through the head. Well, up next, the teenager who survived this freak accident. We'll be right back.
Are you wondering what's going on now and what's next for OJ? We want to find out. Get an overall look at the O.J. civil trial with a recap and wrap-up of everything you want to know. We have the inside scoop on all the players, from the families to the lawyers. Plus, hear reactions from people like you. We'll talk about it all. Don't miss a single moment of judgment from the civil trial of the century. O.J. Friday continues with O.J. Roundup, only on Rolonda.
Now, if you're going to be in the New York area and would like free tickets to Rolonda, well, please call us. Let's go do a talk show, babe. I gotta tell you, Robbie, that is the first time in my entire life I've ever been on a motorcycle in the snow with no helmet. Don't try that at home, kids.
You're right on the back good anyway.
Yeah, and you know something? Then we went out to lunch. And I brought my evil Knievel lunchbox. You guys remember these things? This is so funny. And the evil Knievel rocket heading over Snake River, which you're going to do. You have a 10-year-old daughter.
Yeah, she's a toughie.
Is she going to jump?
No,
She a
no
tomboy?
way. Oh, yeah.
Well, Dad.
Tomboy, I put her on the mini bike at Christmas time, and she ran into the side of my truck, you know, and she, I go out there, you know, you okay, you okay? She's like, yeah, so I smacked her in the helmet. I says, that's what that's for, you know, keep it on.
You said the funniest thing when we were out there. I said, you can really jump over those things? And you said, what was that joke you said?
Oh, white men can jump.
Oh, boom. Okay. Our next guest was in a really bizarre accident. In fact, it's one of the most bizarre accidents I think I've ever heard of. Jeremy Campbell from Metuchen, New Jersey, was his high school's track team field manager, and he was cleaning up the field one day when a javelin, remember that pole I showed you? This javelin, 8 feet long, came soaring through the air and speared him right in the neck. Can you believe that this teenager survived this accident, and he's here today to tell us about it? Come on out, Jeremy. Oh, look, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Come have a seat. Jeremy, when you look at this thing, and I show you this javelin, you must have a cold chill that goes down the back of your spine.
Not really.
Not really?
No.
Is that the scar on your neck there? Golly, tell us how in the world this happened. What were you doing out there on the field, and how did this happen?
I had been putting out the cones to mark the boundary lines because it had been raining and washed away the lines that they had put down. So I guess the other official had told the competitors to start taking warm-up throws as I was walking back in. I had finished with the cones and was walking back in toward the throwing area when it happened. I was walking with 2 of my teammates, and they yelled duck, so I looked up to see what they were yelling about, and I couldn't see anything because the afternoon sun was blinding in my eyes.
Oh, my goodness.
So I crouched down into as little a ball as I could, and the javelin came down. It went through my ear, stuck in here, came down along the scar, and was sticking out down here so that it was resting just above my chest bone.
Amazing. What in the world did you do? I mean, how did you, what was the first thought that went through your brain there?
Well, first, it felt when it happened like it had hit my head and bounced off. So I looked around, and then I could see that it was sticking out down here.
Ooh, not to mention another 7 feet back there.
Yeah, luckily one of the people who was standing next to me had the presence of mind to hold that end up to avoid it falling over and wrenching itself out.
Oh, my God. You're lucky it didn't go right through your neck.
Yeah.
I mean, in the middle or hit your head.
Well, the doctors, I think, said a little more than a thickness of a fingernail, and it would have pierced my carotid artery. So.
How did they get you to the hospital?
Well, originally they were going to put me in a regular ambulance, but then they decided that I had to be airlifted to the trauma center. So they had to figure out what they were going to do about, to make it so I would fit inside the helicopter because the javelin's way too big. So what they did was, first they were going to have a plumber cut it with a pipe cutter.
Unbelievable.
Luckily, somebody thought better of that also, and they brought out the jaws of life and clipped it off. So the part that flew with me in the helicopter is about that long.
I want you to tell the story about when you got to the hospital, because I think that a lot of people reacted much to you the same way they did to John. They they just lost their stomachs, basically. Hold on one second, I've got to take a break. We're going to continue with this story. And we've already told you that farming is the second most deadly job in the world, but you may be surprised to learn the other jobs that made the top 10 list. Stay with us. We'll give you that list right after this.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode of Rolonda, and I hope that you'll subscribe and follow so many of my other activities on my Rolonda channel, including some stand-up comedy, some podcasts, some great auntie advice, and loads of laughs and lots of fun. So subscribe and stay tuned. Now, let's get back to the show.
I understand that folks, when you got to the hospital, or even before you even left, that people who saw the javelin go through your neck there just did not react too well.
Well, the two people who were standing next to me, one of them held up the other end of the javelin to avoid it being ripped out, and the other one ran into the bathroom and tossed his cookies.
Oh. Did this change your life? Did this have an effect on you?
It makes me feel like I have some purpose of some sort why I didn't die. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to figure out what that purpose is and be able to live up to it.
Unbelievable. How many stitches did you have?
They use staples for where the big scar is. There were 17 staples along there, and I had 23 stitches putting my ear back together.
Your parents must have flipped out.
Yeah, I guess it was a little tough for them.
It's amazing when you listen to these folks who've been through these death-defying feats, and they're so calm about it, so calm. I guess the folks who have these types of jobs are pretty calm about it too, even though they are considered the deadliest jobs in America. Number 10 deadliest job, taxi cab drivers. I believe it. New Yorkers know that. Number 9, airline pilots. Number 8, cashiers. 7, electricians. 6, police detectives. Number 5, laborers. 4, shopkeepers and salespeople. And 3, construction workers. 2, farm workers. And the number 1, the most deadly job in America? We'll have the answer when we come right back. Think about it, though. Think about it. See if you get it right at home. We'll tell you. We'll be back. We'll be back.
You've seen the headlines about Jean-Benet Ramsey's brutal murder.
I'm a little bit sick and tired of this media bashing.
Now new insights into her death.
She was the victim of a sick game, a sick sex game.
Do beauty pageants create princesses?
They're babies and they don't need the makeup. The parents.
Or exploit innocent children?
It's the parents that these kids look like old women.
Jean-Benet Ramsey, Lost Beauty on Rolonda.
Okay, here it is. What is the deadliest job in America? What do you think?
Postal worker.
Postal worker. What do you think?
Firefighter.
Firefighter. What do you think the deadliest job in America is?
Housewife.
Housewife. Oh, please. Well, the Department of Labor says the most deadly job in America is truck driving. Truck driver deaths, mostly involving highway crashes, accounted for 12% of all job-related fatalities. And before we say goodbye, what did you want to say, Eric and Troy?
At first I was going to ask you if you wanted to make a jump, but I was afraid the answer might be no. So Eric and I have contributed 50% each, and we paid for your next skydive, your first one.
Me?
So you can have that nice little videotape, and like you had with Robbie riding the wheelie. You'll have a nice little tape of you in free fall.
Let me think about it. No! We'll see you next time on Rolonda, and be safe out there, please. Bye-bye, everybody. See you.
and I hope you will subscribe and continue to enjoy. Just wanted to let you know that my voice acting masterclass is now digital. If you are somebody who's interested in being a voice actor, please go check it out. Go to Rolonda.com, Rolonda.com. That's my website, and you can check out all the details and even enroll in my voice acting masterclass. Hey, you'll never know how good you are until you try.